Millions of households across the UK have been scrimping, saving and simply not managing, with energy bills hitting record highs. But also soaring are the profits of our largest energy supplier, British Gas. Labour accusing its owner Centrica of cashing in on the windfalls of war. But could the windfall have come from closer to home? Today's report from British Gas shows its profits soared from 98 million to 969 million in the first half of this year compared to last. But take a closer look at the company's interim report and it reveals that British Gas has benefited from Ofgem raising the energy price cap for consumers to the tune of £750 million in 18 months. That's 75% of all profits in that time. Ofgem's energy price cap is designed to stop suppliers struggling with rising wholesale gas prices from going out of business. More than 30 have gone bust since 2021. British Gas, however, which has taken on 700,000 new customers, has never been at risk of collapse. In fact, it's posted more than £1 billion in profit over the last 18 months alone. But that's not the full picture. Because the price cap rise allowed suppliers to raise bills to adjust for losses, British Gas made back £250 million in the first half of last year and £500 million in the first half of this year. That's £750 million on top of profits it made without the help of the energy cap. Centrica itself announced a 33% hike in dividends, a huge prize for shareholders.
Centrica is incredibly well placed to create value and growth and to deliver for our customers, for our amazing colleagues and for our incredible shareholders.
Today, the Prime Minister was asked about British Gas's record profits.
I took a decision back when I was Chancellor to introduce a windfall tax on the energy companies. So we are now taxing these windfall profits of energy companies, and we're using that money to help us pay around half of a typical family's energy bill.
But the government's windfall tax doesn't apply to suppliers who sell energy to consumers like you and me, only to energy producers who get it out the ground. Today, campaigners are calling for windfall taxes to be extended to suppliers as well.
Bills are still double what they were before, so people are still suffering, people are in debt, people were cut off over the winter. 1.2 million homes with prepayment meters were cut off last winter. So that money is desperately needed by households. That should not be flowing to the shareholders of British Gas.
Ofgem told us profits in the first half of this year are a one-off as suppliers recoup costs incurred from the pandemic and war in Ukraine. They said that although some, like British Gas, have benefited from their size, they predict profit levels would soon fall back to the modest levels allowed for in their price cap.
Amelia Jem reporting there. A little earlier, I spoke to Ed Miliband, the Shadow Secretary of State for Climate Change and Net Zero. I began by asking whether the British Gas windfall is a result of the war in Ukraine.
You've got Centrica, Shell, EDF making huge profits from generation, and lots of those profits are from the very, very high oil and gas prices, which have been driven up by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. These are unearned, unexpected profits. And the problem we've got, it's the job of the companies to make money for their shareholders. It's the job of government to stand up for the British people. And the government has failed to do that. They've put in place a windfall tax with a huge bunch of loopholes in it, most notably that they are paying money back to the companies for decisions that they might otherwise, in any case, have made.
You said that you would put a tax of 78%. That's only a 3% difference. How much of a difference is that going to make?
It is a relatively small difference, but the big difference we would make, the government has decided that uniquely for oil and gas investment, they're going to give essentially a 91% tax break, the so-called super deduction for the companies. That is a huge bung to the companies for investments that will make no difference, take not a penny off gas and oil prices for the British consumer, and it's money that is being taken from the British people and given to those companies.
The government would say it's not bungs, it's investment that they are making into green energy, and without the money that they get for that investment, then you're not going to have that for the future.
Here's the thing, Aisha, which I think your viewers will be shocked about, which is that this tax break is only available if you invest in oil and gas. It's not available to companies investing in renewables. And more than that, when you look at the analysis of what a company like Shell is doing in terms of where its investment is going, 6 to 1 is going into oil and gas, not into renewables. And there's a wider point here, which is how do we get off this merry-go-round of very, very high prices which people can't afford? The only answer is to go hell for leather for a green energy sprint, to go for Labour's plan of 2030 clean power.
In Amelia's reporting, she has found that Centrica's profits of over 700 million, that a lot of that was from the price cap itself. So how does that need to be structured? And are you surprised by that?
Well, look, I think there are real questions for the regulator here, because the regulator has made a number of decisions. Now, some of them it explains by the fact that the companies were previously making losses, but I think they have increased the profit margin implicit in the price cap decisions for the companies to increase so-called resilience for the sector. Now, we're all in favour of resilience for the sector, but it's not at all clear to me when you look at the scale of profits that are being made that that is the right decision.
On your broader brief of climate, you would have seen the UN comments about global boiling, not warming. How alarmed are you by that? And how committed is Labour, given that they have been accused, the party have been accused of rolling back on a lot of their green policies recently because of the by-election in Uxbridge?
Well, the UN Secretary-General is absolutely right. The world is on a bad path, and we need to change that path. And I think there is real reason for hope. And as for Labour, we are absolutely committed to an ambitious, radical plan at the next election.
But are you being briefed against by your own party?
Not at all. Look, you know, Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves, as leader and shadow chancellor, and I hope as Prime Minister and Chancellor after the next election, are more committed to this agenda than any duo, I think, in British political history. And, you know, there's always Westminster tittle-tattle. That's what happens when you take big and important positions, but we are absolutely committed to those positions.
Ed Miliband, thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.